Let's talk about So Far. Number one, great Joe Walsh impression. Unbelievable, man, the way you sing on it. I thought it was Joe Walsh for a second.
Oh, thanks.
Did anyone ever honestly believe that you actually could sing like Joe Walsh? I mean,
I don't know if anybody knows this about me.
That's him and...
I'm a fucking singer.
No, you're not. But that's an
I am
amazing...
a fucking singer.
We've had this conversation
That's my
before.
first love. I said that before?
We've had this conversation.
Maybe
like
that's
singing
what I
before.
really want to be.
As a singer.
Yes, more
You
than
could be in the
hip-hop.
Eagles.
I could?
Listen to you. You're Joe Walsh. Joe Walsh is in the Eagles. You do know that, right?
Yeah. I know what I'm saying. I could be.
I was amazed. I was
I
like,
could be ill.
now this record in particular, apart from the
I
fact
sing on
that...
all my records, though.
What, you mean that you sing like a bird? Isn't it?
Yes. I'm a fucking
Internally, you're singing every time.
Absolutely. Nah, I just don't know how to sing.
This is... you make it work for you. This is the modern day cheesy rap for me. This is cheesy rap blues. This is kind of like, oh man, like everything. Oh man. Do you remember that? Remember that song? It's kind of like that. Oh man, I'm so rich, but I still just want to go eat like burgers and...
Yeah, I mean, this whole record is
It makes me laugh.
another, tongue-in-cheek example.
Yeah, but something
That's just going to be the theme for the whole.
But I want to talk about the D on this. You referenced Detroit in your chorus, and it's a really important part of that song, and I guess that's why I'll never leave Detroit. And I actually wanted to ask you, has it ever crossed your mind to leave Detroit through everything you've been through the difficult times that you had as a kid growing up there, through the financial and difficult, never?
Absolutely not, no.
Why do you stay?
Because, for one, I mean, the most obvious answer is all I know. It's all I know. I love it there. Despite the little complaints on the record and shit like that, which is, the whole concept of the record was just basically, you're right, it's like a cheesy rap blues thing.
Yeah.
Like I'm complaining about shit that people might think it's ridiculous
It's
to complain
windshield
about,
time.
and as I'm complaining about it, I'm realizing that this shit is ridiculous and
Yeah.
I'm complaining about.
Yeah.
But
I stole a kid's tricycle. Do you remember that line in Cheesy Rap Blues always made me laugh? Like,
yes, like I'm complaining about shit that I have no business really complaining about.
Yeah.
That the average listener might think. You know what I'm saying? But
Detroit's close to your heart, isn't it? In every single way, and yet it's a city in America that's going through one of the toughest times, and that must be kind of hard too, man. The place where you grew up is, it's in a bad place. It's in a bad way.
Absolutely. But I think that it's kind of the Detroit mentality to we're kind of the underdog. I feel like we've always been the underdog, and that's kind of how, I've always kept that with me. You know what I'm saying? That I want to say fighting spirit that Detroit has. Because Detroit, is so resilient. Like I feel like our like people there, we have this, kind of Detroit versus everybody mentality, because I feel like people, the way that people look at us, they always count us out. You know what I'm saying? So I know that attitude is displayed a lot in my music, but I think that that's where it comes from, is just from, just feeling like we're being counted out.
The artwork of you sitting on those steps in the house again, man, and being in front of that house again, that's part of the things that you had to do to kind of revisit the Marshall Mathers LP too, was to go back to that old stomping ground again, and I guess it must have been kind of, maybe it wasn't, but I would imagine if it was me, it would have been a moment to have done it back then and to do it again, and everything you've been through. Did you feel really different when you were sitting on the step, even for a photo shoot, being back there, than you did the first time you had your photo shoot there?
I mean, not really. And what I mean by that is, I don't, like where I live now, I don't live too far from a lot of the houses that I used to live in. Do you know what I mean? So I often will take drives and either go listen to music that I've already recorded, or clear my head and try to write, and take drives down old streets and things like that.
Right.
So that was one of
It's
the
always
places
on your mind.
yeah, that I've often visited, even up to recently,
Yeah.
before the photo. So
You're touring Australia and New Zealand, which is wicked, an amazing bill. And you came out and played Reading and Leeds, so the UK has been pretty lucky throughout the years when you haven't toured excessively, but you've often come back and you've done bits and bobs. Do you want to soften the idea of touring? I mean, do you want to go out and see more parts of the world and play live shows again? Obviously not the way you used to, but are you open to that idea?
I mean, I'm always open to doing shows and performing. I think that it's definitely a better experience for me now than it was, back a few years ago.
Do you get more nervous before shows now you're sober? Is it a different experience before you go on than you would even remember when you were in the height of all that?
I mean, I definitely think I did. First relearning how to do that shit again.
Yeah.
Was it's a lot, and I don't think on the Relapse record, or that whole album run, I don't think that it was something that I jumped right back into.
Yeah.
It was like smaller shows here and there. Let me get my feet wet again, and get my footing back. And it took a minute, but I think that just the more you do it, it just starts to become second nature.
Do you get? I mean, it seems like a strange question, but do you get a real thrill out of standing in front of a live crowd and performing? Because I know that probably when you were going through various issues with substances and stuff, it's hard. You feel detached. That's why people do that. But now you're sober. When you're standing in front of 60, 70,000 people. Is that
now I can look out and I can see the crowd and I can actually see the people and I can see what people look like. So that's
just insane to think that you couldn't even comprehend that when you were.
I mean, I just think that it was just one of those things. I was so trapped in my own head.
Yeah.
I often get trapped in my own head, still to this day. But I
Dude,
think
everybody does.
Absolutely. So I think that back then it was definitely like it was so big in my head, and it was one of those things that it was like, fuck, man, let me take this and this and drink this or whatever and get through it, as opposed to going out there and actually, being able to see the people and connect with the crowd and
I hope we get more records from you in the future. Is that likely? Are you inspired to continue to make records for yourself and for other people? Are you back in the studio as soon as you can?
I mean, I think that I don't know what the plan is in the near future, but I do know, there's going to be some other things coming up, other projects and things like that I'll probably get into working on. As far as my own record, I mean, I always write, and I probably always will. I don't know at what point, whatever point I decide, like, I'm going to put the mic down or whatever happens with that, I do feel like I always want something to do with the music. So whether it's producing or whatever, ends up happening, I think that I just want something to do with it. Music is always going to be in my head, so along with myself that's trapped in it.
We're all trapped in your head. It's a byproduct of the records.
Oh, you meant everyone's trapped in my head.
No, I actually did.
You said,
no, but I actually did mean everyone's trapped in their own head, and then I just amended it at the end there.
Oh, that's good.
I'm trapped in my head.
It would have been way better if you would have at the front, like, said that everyone's trapped in my head.
Right.
I probably would have liked that better.
I'm trapped in this room.
You didn't like what?
Actually, no.
14?
Seriously, don't get trapped in my
your head.
Yeah, I wouldn't wish that on nobody.
You should address the camera because right now there's a lot of people probably.
Stay out of my head.
Good to see you.
Zane, thank you.
Thanks, man.
Pleasure. As always.